Welcome aboard, folks. My name is Rod. I'm a pilot with one of our nation's leading legacy carriers here in America, currently operating the Boeing 737 aircraft out of Atlanta, Georgia. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about the third pillar of what makes a great pilot. Being a pilot is not normal. Flying an airplane is not normal. So as you can imagine, the health standards associated with the profession are also not normal. In order for us to reach the high standards that we're trying to get to, I do find it really important to first clearly define the objective, right? It is through defining the objective that we will have translated all the theoretical ideas and knowledge into an actionable steps and procedure and steps to get to ultimately the objective. Now, we're talking about our health here. So what would be the objective? The objective is to be able to safely operate an aircraft to the very highest level throughout the entirety of your duty period. Whether that will be a 16-hour duty day for those operating domestically within domestic rules, or going internationally and you have several pilot crew, and then you can operate for even longer. But the point is, at the very end of that duty period, the 16th hour, the 20th hour of work, you should be able to, at the very end of it, should you have a very serious emergency, be able to deal with that emergency at your best, still performing to a very high level, because emergencies are unpredictable. So you need to come fit and ready to get the job done at any time throughout the entire day. That's the objective. Because flying airplanes is a federal privilege that is earned through tests, both theoretical and practical, on multiple different levels, as I've covered in other videos, the feds have also developed standards of health that have to be met by pilots. That is obviously in an attempt to help elevate the level of safety throughout the entire industry, and as well as the health standards, or I should say through the health standards that are applicable to the pilots. The doctors that get the job done in that field are called AMEs, or aviation medical examiners. The pilot applies for a medical license with an AME. That medical license can be first class, second class, or third class. Each class has different requirements and restrictions, and it also provides the pilot with different privileges. The highest privilege and the highest level you can get is the first class medical, and that is the medical that is necessary for you to have in order for you to fly with the legacy carriers in the United States. And while it is extremely important for us to be examined by an AME either every 6 months or every 12 months, depending on your age, for us as individuals to get the job done, we truly do have to run kind of a self-diagnosis and evaluation every single time that we are reporting to work. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but in aviation, we do have acronyms for just about everything. There are a million acronyms. Well, this is no exception. The acronym for today is IMSAFE. I am safe, just the letter I am safe together. And through this acronym, we'll be able to conduct a self-evaluation prior to the beginning of each day, whether we're fit enough to get the job done that we're reporting to. The first letter in the acronym IMSAFE is the letter I, and it stands for illness. You cannot operate an aircraft with any illness that will negatively impact your capacity to safely operate that aircraft. Easier said than done, because throughout the year you may get maybe allergies, maybe it's just a cold that's not a big deal, maybe you might be a little bit tired, but it is not exactly prohibiting you from operating the aircraft. But it is extremely important for the pilot to be very self-aware and to be cognizant of variables with regards to your health that will negatively impact your capacity to operate the aircraft. Now, just as an example, I have worked with individuals that made the mistake of flying congested and suffered a ruptured eardrum during the flight, and subsequently suffered from hearing loss, either for a small period of time or an extended period of time. And one in particular was a flight attendant, and to my knowledge, suffered a significant permanent hearing loss. So just because, he was congested. So it is extremely important to not fly congested and to be aware so that you are not jeopardizing yourself or, as a pilot, the aircraft and crew while you're sick and you're trying to fly. The next letter is the letter M, which stands for medication. You cannot operate an aircraft with any medication that will negatively impact your capacity to safely operate the aircraft. There are many active ingredients which are not allowed for you to consume and then go fly an aircraft. So I'll leave you a link down below for you to reference that list on the FAA's website for you just to take a look at. For me personally, with a clean bill of health and I don't take any medications, if I do have to take a medication, odds are I'm just not going to be going into work while I take care of whatever is going on. Next, we have the letter S, and it stands for stress. Now, stress is obviously very individual, very personal, how you deal with stress and how much stress truly impacts you. But the bottom line is, as you might have caught on by now, the stress cannot be to the level which it would negatively impact your capacity to safely operate the aircraft. Now, as a young guy growing in the aviation world, to be honest, there was never a moment where I experienced any stress that would be a factor. Now, as you grow older and your life becomes more complex, hopefully getting married, kids, if that is something you aspire to have, and life does become more complicated. So some of the greatest stress factors as you get older actually may not even have to do with you. A kid getting really sick, a very tricky or not good financial situation that came up due to an accident or something, a spouse that is going through something rough, whatever it may be, those external stress factors are a big factor. And as a pilot, you do need to understand how to work with that prior to reporting for work. Now, pilots are really good at compartmentalizing all of these variables and just tucking them away when we report to work. That being said, if it gets to the point where it does interfere with your work, again, you should probably stay home. The letter A stands for alcohol. And as you can imagine, the history of the industry with alcohol has definitely been, well, let's just say a little bit painful over the years. There's been a lot of mistakes that were made in the process. Today's standards are extremely stringent. From a Fed standpoint, you are not allowed to operate an aircraft with a blood alcohol content or a BAC greater than 0.04, which is just half of the legal limit allowed to drive a car. That being said, there are many private sector companies that will, in fact, have a BAC allowance of 0.00 or a no tolerance, a zero tolerance allowance. So that is something to keep in mind. Additionally, there's also what we call 8 hours of bottle or throttle. You are not allowed to consume anything within 8 hours of going flying. That being said, typically, if you're going to have a drink, it's going to be far before longer time frame than that. And it's not going to be anything of much effect to your body. Again, This is something that is on an individual basis. And you just need to learn your body, learn yourself, so that you are making the right decisions as you go about, especially on the road. The letter F means fatigue. And fatigue is an extremely complicated subject, both from a scientific standpoint, just the human anatomy and how we deal with fatigue and all of those variables, as well as from a management standpoint. It is something that is a challenge to manage, and it is easier said than done. So, for example, you have 8 hours and 30 minutes of flight time scheduled today on a maximum scheduled duty day, and you have 3 flights, and there's a lot of time in between the flights, and it's a really long day. So in order to properly manage your fatigue during the day is extremely important. Now, with regards to this in particular, we're talking about fatigue prior to reporting to work, which means you can't show up tired. If you show up exhausted, it is not going to work, right? So you do need to show up well rested in order to mitigate any problems later on down the day. More on this coming in the future. This is a very complicated topic and one that I thoroughly enjoy. And last but not least is the letter E, or your emotions. Now, definitely probably one of the least impacting items on the IMSAFE checklist. Most of us can, for the majority of our careers, not really have problems in the emotions department where it is getting in the way of flying. That being said, the passing away of a close loved one is a very good example of a time that it may behoove you to take a few days and stay at home instead of reporting for work. Again, the objective is to never lower the standard so it infringes upon the ultimate goal, which is to be fully fit and capable of operating and dealing with a very serious emergency on the last hour of duty on an extremely long day. So folks, as you can see, it is not, like I said in the beginning of the video, it is not normal to be a pilot and to do the job. And it stems from the following fact. Your office is moving at 500 miles an hour, several miles up in the sky, and you cannot pause. You cannot pull over and stop. It's live, it's ongoing, and it will continue to go until you safely land the aircraft. Throughout the years, I've had conversations with people that have more of the standard job, maybe 9 to 5, or maybe just an office environment. And they're always a little bit puzzled about, well, why is it that you can't go to work right now? And that is the reason why. When you are in that environment, you must have a higher level of safety standard, health requirements, and self-evaluation in order to make sure you can get the job done from beginning to end. Mind you, let's say you have an easy day, right? Just a scheduled easy day, a one flight over. Well, you can show up. I've been in this position, and the airplane breaks. Well, you're good for the entire day. You're going to stay with the airplane. So the company sends in mechanics. Maybe they drive over. Maybe they fly over. Parts are coming in from an airport, another airport, to fix your aircraft. Okay, next thing you know, 6 hours have gone by. Maybe 10 hours have gone by. And you're still legal to operate that one flight. So now it's the 10 hours of coordinating calls, hanging out, not doing anything, which the idling time is extremely rough on the human body. When you are not actively engaged in something, your mind and your body do take a toll. You tend to get tired a lot more than if you were active and focused. So it is not just because you have an easy day that you can report exhausted and not fit for duty because it's one easy day, because you don't know what will happen. Hence the reason why we have these standards. It's not a cop-out. It's necessary. As a senior veteran captain used to say, I've never been able to get one of these airplanes stuck up in the sky. She's coming down. So we have to be with it. We have to be together, and we have to be working as a team to make sure we get the job done in a safely manner. So that is it, folks. That is pillar number 3, the IMSAFE checklist, which we have to do every single day prior to reporting for work. Again, the objective, getting the job done, whether it be a nice 1-hour easy day all the way to the longest day that you can possibly fly an aircraft, and dealing with something serious at the end of that day. That's the standard. That's the mission. That's what we're signing up to do. Thank you for sharing your time with me. I deeply appreciate your time. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. Hit the like button, subscribe, help me grow the channel. We just cracked 100 subscribers. Some pretty new and exciting things coming to the channel in the near future. And next week will be the 4th part of our 4-part series, the last one, addressing the pillars of what makes a great pilot. Thank you very much. Until next time, fly safe.